Good evening. I'll call this meeting of the Salem City Council for Monday, December 5th, 2022 to order. If the recorder will please call the roll.
Councilor Stapleton?
I'm here.
Councilor Nishioka?
Here.
Councilor Phillips?
Here.
Councilor Leung?
Here.
Councilor Gonzalez absent. Councilor Hoy?
Here.
Councilor Nordyke?
Here.
Councilor Varney?
Here.
Mayor Hoy?
Here. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Councilor Stapleton, are there any additions or deletions to the agenda?
Not tonight.
All right, it's time for council and city manager comments. Do we have any? Councilor Phillips.
Thank you, Mayor Hoy. Tonight, I have a couple things I want to say. I guess I'll start with the lighter stuff first. We had a Ward 3 event this past Sunday that was promoted by the Marion County government. There was a toy drive and fundraiser at the Brothers Private Car Museum, the Brothers Collection. We got there early. It was fun to go and see the over 350 private cars and to raise some funds and toys for a good cause. Within the first hour, they had filled up their 2 antique trucks and it was already starting to overflow. So it was a good family event and it was fun to get out and do something here in Ward 3. Shifting now to a personal note, I missed our last meeting. I come down with a relatively common virus right now. I had what's called RSV. I'm feeling quite a bit better than 8 days ago. So if I still sound a little under the weather, I am. This tends to last for 2 to 3 weeks, but I'm probably very low contagious at this point. But it's just a reminder, as an emergency room doctor, I would encourage everybody to avail themselves of the safe, effective vaccines for influenza, the flu shot, as well as the COVID-19 shot, which the booster is available for everybody age 5 and up. And I highly recommend you avail yourselves of those things. I know I say it frequently, but help us on the front line of healthcare. Once again, we are stressed. So anything you can do to help us is incredibly appreciated. And then finally, a bit more serious, even still, the last couple of weeks, nationally, I've, seen and read, I think we all probably have come across it, things that have caused me to comment a bit on our history and just to make a public declaration right now in this individual capacity I have as a city councilor, using this platform. So, the city of Salem, the name Salem, in talking with some friends that live here in the city of Salem and our community members, they reminded me that word is a derivation of the word shalom, which is a Hebrew word, so which means peace. And I think the city and this body, the city council, has repeatedly made strong statements condemning hate in all of its forms. And I think it's important once again to say something publicly towards that end in terms of the rise of anti-Semitic comments. It's not just about anti-Semitism, but right now that's what I've seen a lot of. And this is affecting people that live, in the communities that we're elected to represent. I've had conversations with people who are worried about attending, religious services here, worried about their physical safety. So in trying to be, an ally and to speak out against hate, as I believe we are tasked to do and have done over the history, I just want to, emphatically state that, we as the city of Salem reject hate and anti-Semitism in all its forms. I think it harms all of us. There's no place for that here. And I know that, we have spoken out publicly against, white supremacy, declaring racism as a public healthcare threat, and unanimously passed resolutions declaring Salem as an inclusivity city. So once again, I think it's important to just say that clearly and as possible. So thank you for the time.
Thank you, Councilor, and I just want to thank you for bringing up those important words. I co-sign on everything you just said on all counts. So thank you very much for speaking that. Councilor Nishioka.
We can't hear
sorry,
you.
Counselor, you're still on mute.
Thank you, Mayor White. I'm glad I have that corrected, and thank you, Councillor Phillips. Those were words that we all need to hear again and again, and I appreciate you stating them. I'm letting people know that I got to attend the Holiday Lights at downtown at Riverfront, and it was a wonderfully attended event, a wonderful weather evening as well. Lots of kids in line to get their chocolate and hot chocolate and cookies and see the reindeer and Santa Claus. It was wonderful. I also got to attend the Marion Polk Yamhill County holiday event where one of our counselors, Counselor Nordyke, served as Mrs. Claus at the party. So that was fun. And then I do want to remind people that the Salem Police is having their 36th annual toy drive, and hopefully people will participate in that. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Leon.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Wanted to briefly highlight that my nonprofit had our monthly food pantry as well as a vaccine event this past Saturday. And we ended up having 57 people total who got vaccinated, a total of 30 who got the flu shot, one person who got their very first COVID vaccine, one person who got their second Pfizer vaccine, and the rest who ended up getting whether there was their first booster or their latest booster. So we are still out there trying to get people get vaccinated, whether it's for the flu or for COVID. And as Councillor Philip had mentioned earlier, you know, COVID is still out there. Flu is now on the rise, and RSV has been on the rise in our hospitals, especially even Salem Hospital, and that you saw in the news, they are turning away people, diverting them to other locations because they are just packed. So if you can, just be mindful and recognize that there are some respiratory illnesses that are still on the rise, and to wash your hands, and where you can, please mask up. Sorry, all my kids are at home, so you got all the fun stuff happening in the background. So
No
please,
worries.
again, be mindful and, just play it safe. I mean, we've got more holidays, more celebrations coming up. But at the same time, we want to keep each other healthy. We also want to keep our family and friends healthy. Just like Councillor Philip, I had RSV not too long ago, go through my house, and I've had COVID too, and both of them are monsters. And you don't want to have that situation where it's hard to breathe and like coughing to the point where you just want to make it stop, but you can't. So again, thank you again for everyone else who's spoken and for sharing all the things that are happening within the city.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Stapleton.
Thank you so much, Mayor. Yeah, I really just wanted to come on and applaud Councillor Phillips for his brave words. I think that they are needed time and time again to just speak out against hate in our community. And I think that there is real value in doing that. Not only are we recommitting every time that we say that to what we mean, but we're also letting people know in the community that we take this seriously, that we value their experiences, and that we see them and recognize pain. Not only pain across the world, is also pain here. It travels in ways that we can't express and understand fully. So for those of you in our community who are hurting right now because of so much that's going on in the world, we see you, we recognize your pain, and we want to fight for a place here in Salem that is a city of peace, and one that we love each other and we just really see each other for who they are and celebrate each and every person that's here. So thank you for saying that. I also wanted to say that I got to go to the holiday event as well. And boy, is that popular. I talked to the city manager about just all the community events that we've been having right now. And the overall theme, I think, is that the city of Salem is ready to get out and get together and celebrate life living here in this beautiful city. And so thank you to everybody who came out. Thank you to staff that staffed that. I heard that Santa Claus actually works in Public Works. And so thank you so much for showing up and doing all that work. And the last thing that I wanted to mention is just for folks who are going to holiday parties right now, I know we have heard this for decades, but please make a plan. and get a designated driver, call an Uber, call a friend. Please don't drink and drive this holiday season. And thank you. Again, Councilor Phillips, my kiddo is off to get her flu shot right now. So the last of us are getting our flu shot tonight. So I hope everybody has a very safe and healthy holiday. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Nordyke. You're still on mute, Councilor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Wonderful remarks by all my colleagues thus far this evening, and I join in them. I posted recently on my Facebook page this reposting of a tweet which said, imagine if we measured success by the amount of safety that people felt in our presence. To which I chimed in and said, imagine if we measured leadership this way too. And I think that what Councilor Phillips is saying speaks exactly to that point. We as leaders need to ensure that people feel safe in our presence. And that especially includes our underserved and marginalized communities. And by all means, this certainly includes our Jewish community. I am very fortunate to have Temple Beth Shalom in my ward in beautiful South Salem. Temple Beth Shalom is a true beacon of light. And with the upcoming Festival of Lights underway, I wish them happy Hanukkah to all members of our Jewish community around the city. And I encourage you to support our Jewish community as best you can. We know that acts of hate, especially anti-Semitism and generous forms, variety of forms of bigotry, have targeted our Jewish community right here in Salem. And they have been the subject of hateful comments and words and remarks before. And we can all do our part by surrounding our Jewish community with love and doing what we can to support them. By the way, Temple Beth Shalom has been a real leader in supporting sustainable power and energy too. They worked with PGE to create solar capacity so that the next time we have a major blackout in Salem, because it's not a matter of if, it's just a matter of when, they can be a community hub. They can be a way to be a beacon of light and energy and a warm place for everyone. And I really applaud them for that. And I hope that our other houses of worship will consider following suit, because blackouts can happen, have happened, and will happen again. So I applaud Temple Beth Shalom for all they're doing to support resiliency in times of heat stress, ice storms, or whatever Mother Nature throws at us next. So thank you, Councilor Phillips, for leading us off tonight. Much appreciated. Two other updates. As Councilor Nishioka alluded to, there was a certain Mrs. Claus, I don't know, fresh from the North Pole or something, who attended the Marion Polk Yamhill County Chapter's 80th annual Children's Holiday Party. I was happy to be invited to support this party in certain ways, wink, wink. As I said, I was told that there was a Mrs. Claus in attendance, but I have to say it was wonderful to see the smiles on the kids' faces when she suddenly burst into the room and surprised all and joined in a merry rendition of Here Comes Santa Claus. So my hat's off to our entire labor community. They worked really hard on putting that children's party together. They had a cookie decorating station. They had a live band. They had gift bags for the kiddos and a pop-up photo area for people to take photos with Mrs. Claus. So hats off to Stacy Vieira Brendel and all of our other union siblings for working so hard on this. My final update has to do with Minto Brown. Minto Brown is one of the crown jewels of Salem. And although it is in my ward, I know everyone in our city loves Minto Brown Park and uses it all the time. And in case you missed it, the city of Salem has posted updates regarding the Minto Island Park Trail along the Minto Island Conservation Area. It will be temporarily closed for 2 days as we install native plants along the sides of the trail on December 8 and December 9 from 7:30 a.m. to approximately 3 p.m. And in case you didn't know, we actually have a Minto Island Conservation Management Plan. Google it, find it online, or go to my Facebook page where I posted more information. If you would like to receive input and updates about the care and management of our grandest park in the city, please follow along and get engaged. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Mr. Staley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just very briefly, I wanted to comment on item 6A that is noted on the agenda as being removed from the agenda. It is our intention to continue to work on that matter. That is, of course, in relationship to unsheltered homelessness in public spaces and House Bill 3115's requirement that we amend our own regulations to be consistent with that state law. We'll be doing that by July 2023 as required by law, but staff needed more time to digest what's going on in the state in regards to that matter. We do plan on coming back to City Council with that staff report in the near term, and we'll work with the mayor to find an appropriate time for that when we've done that work. So stay tuned. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Staley. I'll just go now, I suppose. Last week, I had the privilege to participate in a program for new mayors offered by the Bloomberg Center for Cities at Harvard University and the Institute of Politics at Harvard Kennedy School, together with the U.S. Conference of Mayors. It was a program that helped make mayors make the most of their new role, providing strategic insights for leading cities and building teams and organization in the first days and months of an administration. The coursework was designed to help new city leaders make the most of their new roles, gaining strategic insights for leading cities. And the program specialized in leadership, management, building the capacity to solve problems, things like that. It doesn't offer specific policy recommendations, and it's completely nonpartisan. It's just more of a framework on helping cities be better. It's going to have, we have monthly follow-up sessions for the next, I think, 5 or 6 months. And so I was there with 24 other mayors from around the country. Oakland, California, San Jose, cities, Carrollton, Texas, cities in Florida, Virginia, Minnesota, just all over. It was a really, really wonderful experience. And I got to be in Boston the same time as the Royals and the president. So that was an interesting time in Boston. But it was very valuable. Unfortunately, I didn't get to see any of those folks because we were frankly locked in a classroom the entire time we were there. It was kind of fully packed agenda from the moment we started. So I really valued that. I just wanted to let everybody know. I think a press release went out on it. You can read more about it there, but I'm happy to chat with folks offline if you want to know more. Also, on Saturday evening, I was privileged to attend the star lighting trees at the lighting of the star trees at Willamette, my alma mater, which was a nice event, and tons of people there. I think, like somebody mentioned earlier, folks are just really hungry to be out and in community, and there were several hundred folks there for the community dinner. Councilor Leung was there and her family, and hundreds of other community members. It was really a great event. So thank you, everybody, for your announcements and your comments. If there aren't any others, we'll move on. All right, so now we are on to proclamations. And we just have one this evening, and it's a proclamation recognizing Pearl Harbor Remembrance Day. And I'd like to ask Jim Robertson, a retired Navy Master Chief, representing VFW Post 661, to turn his camera on and join us while I read the proclamation. Mr. Robertson, are you with us?
I'm sorry, Mayor Hoy, it doesn't appear as though he's joined us.
All right, we'll just go ahead and read the proclamation and we'll get it to him afterwards. Thank you. Whereas December 7th, 1941 marks a somber day in United States history, and whereas we remember the more than 2,400 Americans who lost their lives on that day, including 1,102 sailors permanently entombed in the USS Arizona. And whereas in a speech the following day to a joint session of Congress, President Franklin Delano Roosevelt declared December 7th, 1941 as a date that will live in infamy. And whereas the events of that tragic day on the Hawaiian island of Oahu at Pearl Harbor propelled America into World War II, and gave the nation a resolve that sustained the nation to victory. And whereas because of that victory for democracy and the sacrifices and suffering endured to secure it, the United States has come to know our enemies of then as allies today. And now, therefore, I, Chris Hoy, Mayor of the City of Salem, do hereby proclaim December 7th, 2022 as Pearl Harbor Remembrance Day, and encourage the community to reflect on the historic events that occurred 81 years ago and pay tribute to those whose lives were lost. Dated this 5th day of December, 2022. Thank you, everybody. And now we will move on to public comment. We have 3 people signed up. First, I would like to call forward Kate Mentrum. Remember, you have 3 minutes. If you would introduce yourself, state your ward or your address. Hi, Kate. If you'd introduce yourself and state your address or your ward for the record, and a reminder, you have 3 minutes.
I represent Northgate Neighborhood Association. My name is Kate Mentrum, and I'm Secretary/Park Chair. And I would like to, first of all, thank you for this opportunity to speak to you all today. Please know that if you agree and decide to vote today to help the poor homeless, you see, I thought the homeless issue was on as a subject. And
there is still one item on the agenda.
Oh, it is? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I'm going to read out. I don't want to spend so much time, saying this and that. So I'm just going to read this out. I wrote already. Okay. First of all, poor homeless people, many of whom are mentally ill and needs protection by the city, will have to be swept off the streets from this cold weather and given proper care. Some of these people may object to that or be afraid to go to somewhere unknown. However, since many are mentally ill enough to continue to stay in the same way of living in the cold weather and may even freeze to death like what happened in January of this year, they need what we call TLC love and support. This means we may have to persuade them even a bit forcefully so that they can get to a warm place and more secure, or take them to treatment centers. Or we could plan ahead for the low barrier type people, erect tents like they are trying to do in Portland. If you must use a temporary place like the fairgrounds, for instance, of which we are not at all happy with, please do the following. 1, warn by letter to the surrounding residents, businesses about your plan. They need to be warned because they had a lot of trouble last year, although church at the park made it look okay. 2, get a city managed, not church at the park managed security guards to guard 24/7. Make sure they follow curfew and not allowed outside after certain hours. This is because last year, 2 weeks after they settled down, the surrounding residents complained about people with backpacks walking up and down their streets after 1 a.m. and their properties got robbed from their patios. 3, you could plan on doing something like what Portland's mayor is planning right now, as erecting 3 large tents to house 250 people each, away from the main part of the city to avoid conflict with the community, since some are low barrier type of homeless people. We are here to protect our residents, our community. We want you to be on the same page as us because according to a study made by a nonprofit agency person, 75 to 85% of the homeless population are mentally ill. Some of them were and are still being released from prison early, and we are told can be dangerous. We believe they need—
Thank you, Kate. I'm sorry your time is up.
Okay, thank you for allowing me to talk.
Thank you for your comments. We really appreciate it.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor Mentrum?
We're changing spots.
No problem.
Happy holidays, everybody. I'm Bayard Mentrum, Chairman of Northgate Neighborhood Association, Ward 5. Recently, I've had some people visit Salem that I know, and they made some disparaging comments about the litter, trash, and homeless camps everywhere. And this is supposed to be the capital, so it was kind of sad to hear. And that's why we want to hopefully talk about solutions other than just emergency situations, that because we get the cold climate or the too hot, we get emergencies. So hopefully we can create some kind of stable situation for the homeless to reside and not move around constantly from here to there. They're back again, they're not moved out again. It's just endless cycle. So Portland is about to create some kind of plan for the homeless if they get the funding from Multnomah County. And hopefully we ask Chris Hoy to possibly talk to Mr. Mayor Wheeler and find out what kind of solutions they've come up with, maybe if you haven't already, and get some solutions to help the situation. We don't want people from, if Portland's got a situation going, we don't want people from Portland to move to Salem and cause more problems here. So if we can create a stable situation and solutions, maybe working with Marion County, they have money, Salem has some money, and there can be some real solutions happening. And let's see. I guess there's money for the Mobile Crisis Center coming, and Marion County is going to help with that, which is promising. And we hope to get more treatment facilities going throughout the Salem and the county. So that's about all I have to say. Thanks for listening, and good evening.
Thank you for your comments, Mr. Minturn. We appreciate them. Just for the record, we're not, back to what Kate said, we're not contemplating any new camping at the fairgrounds. That's not something under anybody's consideration that I'm aware of. So just to set the record straight with that, I don't want to get that rumor started. Also, just in terms so you understand a little bit about the emergency declaration, the reason we have this, it's not because of the reason we have it is so we can cite the microshelter communities that we currently have until we get our ordinances updated. Those exist under an emergency declaration. It's not that there's a new situation, it's that's what allows those microshelter communities to continue to operate where they are. So we're not planning on moving them. They're where they are at. We're just getting ready to open a new one out on Turner Road for youth 17 to 24. But this emergency declaration that we're going to hear about later tonight creates the rules temporarily until we can get the permanent rules in place. And that's really the point of that. So I know it can be kind of obscure when you're just reading it on the agenda, but that's the whole point, is it allows those microshelter communities to continue under the law. So thank you for your comments. We really appreciate them. Jesus Cruz.
Can you hear me? Okay.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just kind of really wasn't going to speak up tonight. Kate kind of said it all. But my main concern right now is there's quite a few spots where there's trash. Just a little example, there's a place in Portland Road where there's a boat been sitting there for almost 2 months. And I'm thinking, like, is it really that hard to have city employees go out there and clean it up? And there's some other areas down here, you know, where there's trash, and kind of makes me wonder why the city hasn't done much, you know, as far as having a crew cleaning all these little spots, which ain't much. You know, the city looks a lot better than before, you know. A few months ago, it was really bad. But I still see some spots. People are complaining to Northgate. And I'm just kind of wondering why the city hasn't gotten a crew and get those little spots like that boat I was talking about. But I'm just concerned about the city. Like Kay said, this is the capital. And we can do better. We can do better. So I thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Cruz. I appreciate your comment, and we want it to be better as well. I can assure you of that. And the city staff is working hard. We do have a crew that works on these things, but they may not be aware of that boat. You know, it's quite a big city. You can go online or you can call the city. There's a phone number on our website where you can call and make sure that the staff are aware of that boat, and they will go deal with it if it's in a place where it's not supposed to be. So that's something that we rely on folks to report that stuff to us so we can be aware of it. We're not always aware of the city staff can't be in every neighborhood all the time. So it's really helpful to have your eyes and ears on stuff and to actually report it to the staff so that they can address it when it's appropriate.
Well, it was reported.
Okay. Well, maybe it's worth a follow-up then, just to kind of make sure people know it's still there and hasn't been dealt with. So
okay,
thank you for your comments. We really appreciate it. Have a nice evening. And that's everybody signed up for public comment. Councilor Stapleton, we have the consent calendar.
Yeah, thank you. I move approval of the consent calendar.
Second.
Thanks. The consent calendar today only has one item, and that is 3.1A, the November 28th, 2022 draft council minutes. And that concludes our consent calendar tonight.
Is there any discussion? The recorder will please call the roll.
Counselor Leung?
Aye.
Counselor Gonzalez, absent. Counselor Hoy?
Aye.
Counselor Nordike?
Aye.
Counselor Varney?
Aye.
Counselor Stapleton?
Aye.
Counselor Nishioka?
Aye.
Counselor Phillips?
Aye.
Mayor Hoy?
Aye, motion passes. All right, we are now on to public hearings. And so we will I don't want to say reopen, but we're going to continue the public hearing on the petition to vacate a portion of Cross Street Southeast. And I see that we have Mr. Gamala, we have Mr. Atchison, all sorts of people popping on. Mr. Gamala, are you going to take it first, or who's leading off? Is it Ms. Warnicki?
Yeah, I think it's to me to kick it off.
Great,
so,
go ahead.
Good evening. My name is Anthony Gamalo, Senior Transportation Planner with the City of Salem Public Works, and I would like to enter the staff report into the record. And I would also like to share my screen. Just give me one moment so I can pull up the map.
Thank you. And while you're doing that, Mr. Atchison, I know we do have two people signed up to speak again. So are we just going to do like as if we were starting from the beginning, or can you help me out with the process there?
Correct. So after the staff report, council can ask questions or it can defer questions until after public testimony.
Thank you.
Okay, so just as a reminder, on November 14th, we initiated a public hearing to consider the vacation, the right-of-way vacation of Cross Street Southeast, west of 20th Street Southeast, here at this location that I'm indicating here. Staff has provided council with a supplemental staff report responding to council questions that arose when the public hearing opened on November 14th. So now at this time, staff is here to respond to any additional questions that council may have related to the proposed right-of-way vacation that was initially discussed on November 14th. If you need any more reminder or anything, I'd be happy to provide it.
Thank you, Mr. Kamalo. My question initially is, what's changed since our last? What's new? What new information do we have?
Not a whole lot besides what we have in the staff report. What's being considered is vacating Cross Street Southeast, west of 20th. There is there's a utility there. There's a sewer and a PGE pole. And the issue that we brought up in the initial public hearing was primarily that there was a connectivity concern in the event that the vacation would be approved, that in the future it would eliminate the possibility of a connection here through these through the petitioner property and the property to the west. But that's pretty much it.
Thank you. I notice Mr. Atchison's hands up. I'm going to go to him first, and then I'll get to you, Councilor Barney.
Sure.
Dan Atchison, City Attorney. So just to clarify, this was kind of on a separate track from the actual vacation, but the existence of the utility easement that goes across the petitioner's property, not on the property to be vacated. We did work with the property owner's attorney and have a executed purchase and sale agreement to acquire that easement. The purchase and sale agreement is conditional on approval of the vacation, and the consideration for that easement would be waiver of the assessment of special benefit that's outlined in your report.
Thank you, Mr. Atchison. Councilor Barney.
Thank you, Mayor Hoy. My question is for Mr. Gamallo, and it has to deal with the attachment 3, which was the, the valuation of the property, and this was in the November staff report, but the evaluation was done on August 23rd. I'm not a real estate expert, so I was just kind of curious. Normally, at least when I bought a home, the comparables, they give you a list of like 3 comparables so you can look at them. In this memorandum, is what you are listing the value of the property to be vacated? And if so, what was it compared with? I'm just curious.
That is the value of the property to be vacated. Our urban development department handles that process, and they I'm sorry, not urban development. It's our property folks.
Mr. Gamallo, I see that Mr. Fernandez has popped on. Maybe.
Yeah, sorry about that, Peter.
No problem. And then we also have Ms. Rutherford.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Peter Fernandez, Public Works Director. No, Anthony was on his way. The appraisals are done by the real estate section, which is in fact an urban development department. Mr.
Clint Tameron.
Thank you, Mr. Tameron does that assessment. I don't have it in front of me what properties he used, but he uses comparable sales, and then he discounts the value because it's an easement. I think in this case the discount was 50%, and that is pretty standard for these kinds of evaluations for easements.
Thank you, Mr. Fernandez. Councilor Barney, did that answer your question?
For the most part, it might come up again later in the discussion, but yeah, thank you.
Thank you. How about if there are no more questions right now, how about if we go to our public commenters, and then we can go for other questions after that, if that works for folks. Mr. Shipman.
Thank you, Mayor Hoy, and members of the council. For the record, Mark Shipman, Land Use Attorney of Southfield Griggs, 250 Church Street, Southeast, Suite 200, Salem, Oregon, 97301. Here this evening on behalf of Dew Investment Holdings, the property owner in this matter. As a reminder, I wanted to just hit on a couple things. We do satisfy the approval criteria. Then we talked about the public benefit. I think you also talked about the public benefit, and that it's a mutually beneficial application, and that you're getting the additional easement from Dew in exchange for the waiver of the special benefits, and we think it's roughly proportionate. I hope you would agree with me that this is a good application, and that you'd approve it with the conditions, and direct staff to prepare an ordinance bill to support the decision. Thank you for your consideration. I'm happy to answer any questions if you have any.
Thank you, Mr. Shipman. Should we hear from Mr. Withnell if he wants to speak first, and then we can do questions? Do you know, Mr. Withnell, are you interested in speaking?
No, Mark really basically said everything I was going to say. So if there's any questions of me, I'd be more than happy to answer. I just hope for the approval of this 137 feet. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Withnell. Are there questions for the applicant at this point? All right, other questions for staff? I don't think we need the timer at this point for the sake of the clock. We're on to council questions and deliberations, or questions, I guess, still. Councilor Nishioka.
Thank you, Mayor Hoy. It's really not questions as much as having read the report. I think there's two things that the one thing that I need a little clarity on is in the report dated December 5th, under the what are the impacts of utilities, there's the second paragraph, the sentence reads, and it's just a little confusing to me. The city cannot condition approval of the vacation on the owner granting the city an easement. And so can you explain, it sounds like we're doing that, so I just needed some clarity on that.
I think we'll ask Mr. Atchison to take a shot at that one.
Sure. So there is a utility easement within the area to be vacated, as well as the PGE light pole that may be in the area. If the vacation is granted, what we would ask is that the vacation be conditioned on the property owner granting an easement for that existing utility within the vacated area, as well as the PGE facility.
Okay.
In addition, there is the continuation of that sewer line that goes from the right-of-way onto the petitioner's property. As a matter of law, we can't exact a conveyance of a property interest that's not on the site that's a subject of the application as part of this. So what we're doing instead is that we've executed a purchase and sale agreement that's going to be conditioned on approval of the vacation.
Okay, good. Thank you for that. And then I think I just want to make the statement that in the city report dated on November 14th, under findings, number D, it says the vacation does not impede the future best use, development of, or access to abutting properties. So I want to make sure that everybody understands that. I've driven in the property area. There's so many things in the way. It's clear that that will unlikely ever be a street. I did get notice from a citizen that lives just a few blocks away, and I didn't quite understand her comments, so I called her, and she too felt that she would not want that to become a street because there's enough traffic already in the area, and she was complaining about some of the larger trucks. And so she was delighted that, because she's right off of Cross Street, that there wouldn't be trucks going down her street. So she was in favor of it. So I just wanted to make comment.
If I could interrupt you for 1 second. I'm sorry, I apologize for interrupting, but you've reminded me that I should ask you all to disclose any ex parte contact that you may have had since our last portion of this hearing. And it sounds like perhaps you had some ex parte contact. Counselor, would you like to declare it for the record?
I would like to declare that I spoke with a citizen that lives on Cross Street. Her name is Julie Hall, and I wanted clarity on her written testimony. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Is there anybody else who needs to declare any ex parte contact in this matter before we go further? All right. Counselor Varney.
Thank you, Mayor Hoy. I too am really kind of confused about the paragraph that Councilor Nishioka was referring to, which is in the December 5th staff report under what are the impacts on the utilities. Because in that second paragraph, it says that we're working with the owner to secure an easement, but not on the property that we're vacating. Yet in the November 14th staff report, you know, that we do have a 15-inch sanitary sewer line and the PGE utility pole there. So the reason I'm confused about this paragraph is it's tying together two different potential easements, the property to be vacated and the property that the petitioner currently owns. So that statement that Councilor Nishioka said that the city can't condition approval of the vacation on the owner granting the city an easement, to me really muddies the waters here. It seems to really complicating things to be tying both of them into one action. And I was wondering, do we have to do it that way?
Dan Atchison, City Attorney. I'll take a stab at that, and Peter, feel free to jump in. No, you don't. The attempt here was to the existence or the lack of the easement for the sewer line that was brought up in the November hearing. There was council discussion about acquiring that easement as part of that process. Because of the restriction on the city to impose an exaction that's off-site, because this easement that we're trying to acquire is off-site, there's a restriction on us and our ability to condition approval of this land use action on giving us that easement. We did it on a separate track with a purchase and sale agreement that's conditional upon approval of the easement or upon approval of the vacation. We don't need to do it like that. We can completely take consideration of this easement out of this vacation decision, and the city will go and contact the property owner separately and acquire it in an arm's length transaction. So you're welcome to just dismiss any consideration of acquiring that easement, as staff did when they originally drafted the staff report, and just decide that the vacation with no discussion of that easement at all. There is an existing sewer line within the right-of-way as well as the PGE facility. If you're going to approve this vacation, we would like that those facilities, there's a reservation process that you can make conditional. So the motion would essentially be, if you're going to approve the vacation, on the condition that that existing utility line that's in the right-of-way, there would be a reservation of an easement for that, as well as a reservation of an easement within the vacated area for the PGE facility. I see some eyes squinting, so I probably didn't do a very good job of explaining that.
No, thank you, Mr. Atchison. I think you did. And I just will remind council that I believe at the beginning of this hearing, at our last meeting, that was the direction that we gave staff, was to come back with sort of a package deal to wrap the whole thing up. And certainly if council's not interested in that at this point, we can go a different direction. But I think that was sort of the indication that we gave to staff to go do some work, try to wrap this thing up in one package and come back. And given the constraints of the law and other things, I think this is as close as they could get to a single package to wrap up the interests of the city and the property owners, as I understand the situation. Councilor Stapleton.
Thank you. I guess I have a question that I'm not, I'll just ask it. So Anthony, is it okay if you pull up that map for me again? And then could you point out where I understand where the sewer line is in the vacation part of this. But could you point out where the easement is that we're going to be kind of trading for, I guess, I don't know if that's a good word to use, but.
So the sewer line runs east-west across this way, right? So it does exist in the area to be vacated, and it continues to run along here. Okay. And the area being discussed that doesn't currently have an easement is here along the petitioner's property.
Okay, and this leads me to my next question. What happened with the property exactly to the west of the vacation that we're talking about now and the next property? Because that would have all been considered cross street at some point in time. So did we sell that land to these folks previously and just not consider the fact that there was an easement needed?
I don't believe we sold it to them previously. It's been in this condition for a long time. We do have areas around town where there is a utilities like a sewer or a light pole that doesn't have an easement. And when we encounter those, we try to clean that up. And this would be an instance where we would try to clean that up.
Okay, so just to clarify, the city only owned the part that's in the blue little square there. Yeah. In hopes that we would then acquire the property to the west to connect that street up in the future.
Yes, it would be a potential connection in the future.
Okay, but the sewer line has been there for a long time, and we just need to clean this up. Okay, thank you so much for answering all my questions. I'm glad I
You're
asked.
welcome. Mr. Staley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to comment that the mayor's comments are absolutely correct. Staff went and found a solution here that gets us the easement that we need on a long-term basis and also facilitates the abandonment of the right-of-way to the adjoining property owner. This is basically a $0 transaction. We get something, which is the utility easement. The owner gets something in regards to acquiring the property. From a staff perspective, this is a reasonable outcome that we think we get equal value from. And although we didn't recommend approval of it, there certainly is plenty of latitude and plenty of justification for council moving forward with this proposal. So happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Staley. And as I understand it, if this were some high value potential connection, this probably wouldn't be the outcome. But because this connection is, the likelihood of this connection ever actually happening are somewhere between, very, very unlikely and never going to happen, then this really kind of makes sense to just wrap it up all as one. Is that accurate to say?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Are there other questions for staff? No other questions? Then I will close.
Mr. Mayor.
Oh, sorry.
Give the applicant an opportunity for rebuttal.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Mr. Shipman or Mr. Withnell, would you like to make a rebuttal to anything you've heard?
No need for rebuttal. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Shipman. Seeing that there are no other questions?
No, I'm good too.
Oh, great. Thank you, Mr. Withnell. Thanks for bearing with me for a moment. Seeing no other questions, I will close the public hearing and we will go to Councilor Nishioka for a motion.
Thank you, Mayor Hoy. I move to approve the vacation of Cross Street Southeast as shown in the staff report and waive the assessment of special benefit with the condition that the applicant convey easements as needed for public and private utilities within the area proposed for vacation.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Discussion, Councilor Nishioka?
I have none.
All right. So as I understand the motion, just to make sure we're all on the same page, I understand that your motion, Councilor, would basically do what we've been discussing, which is wrap this whole thing up in one process. We would approve the vacation. We would also get the easement that we've been discussing. And so we're granting what the applicant wants and the city is getting something of value in return, i.e. the easement. Is that a fair characterization of your motion?
Yes, it is.
Fantastic. Is there further discussion? Councilor Varney.
I'm sorry. I'm struggling with this a lot just because of, I think the package is right. Okay, the way it has been put forth, but as a representative of, the residents of the city of Salem and stewards of this, I'm not sure that equal balance is fair. I do just have some real concerns with it. It makes me feel uncomfortable, and I feel it's important that we avoid any appearance of impropriety. And I'm struggling with a few parts of it. So I just wanted to let you know, I just can't get to a yes on this motion as it's been brought forward.
Thank you, Councilor. Is there any other discussion? The recorder will please call the roll.
Councilor Gonzalez, absent. Councilor Hoy?
Aye.
Councilor Nordijk?
Aye.
Councilor Varney?
Nay.
Councilor Stapleton?
Aye.
Councilor Nishioka?
Aye.
Councilor Phillips?
Aye.
Counselor Leung,
Nay.
Mayor Hoy.
Aye, motion passes. All right, we will go on to special orders of business. And I believe we're turning that one over to Mr. Atchison to start off.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, this is the resolution to extend the emergency declaration regarding our unsheltered situation. The reason we're extending it is to allow, as you mentioned earlier, the continued siting and operation of our existing micro-shelter villages and safe park facilities. Council has adopted land use regulations to allow us to go through a land use process on that, and we are going through that process. But this declaration will allow us to more efficiently and quickly get the facilities up and running, as well as continuing to operate until that land use process is concluded.
Thank you, Mr. Atchison. Councilor Stapleton, do you have a motion? I
do.
Go to that first before we do any further discussion, Mr. Atchison. Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. I move that we adopt resolution number 2022-57 to extend the declaration of emergency related to our unsheltered residents to December 31st, 2023.
Second.
Second by Councilor Phillips. Discussion?
Sure. I think that this is really important. We just find ourselves really in a situation where there's so many moving parts to this, and we are needing to ensure that we get all of our administrative things in order. And I really feel like this is what that is. Staff have really been diligent on getting us solutions for our different code situations. And so I'm comfortable with us extending this so that staff have time to make the needed updates. And that just takes time. And so I think this will pass. I think many of us understand what's happening with this and fully support the city staff on this. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Phillips.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Hoy, and thank you, Council President Stapleton. Yes, I emphatically support this. It's needed right now. I appreciate staff's work to get it to us and their efforts to, find a different way to do it with changing our ordinances moving forward. But this continues to be the number one, issue on the hearts and minds of community members in Salem. And this is what allows us currently to do everything that we are doing, which is probably so much more than people realize, with the multiple micro shelter sites, the safe parking, and so many other things that we're doing. So, it's frustrating that, all across this country, homelessness is such an issue, and especially here on the West Coast. But this is what we need to do at this moment to continue to make as much of a difference as we possibly can here in our city.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Nordyke.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor. Shelters save lives. The car camping program saves lives. The warming shelters and warming centers save lives. That's why I'm supporting this motion. Full stop. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Hoy.
Thank you, Mayor Hoy. I'm in support of this as well. I just want to put in a good word for our neighbors. The citizens of Salem deserve great communication about what is being done. And I want them to feel safe. So I want us all to do our best to ensure that. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Leung.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I want to echo quite a bit of what my other fellow councilors have mentioned. I also want to say a big thank you to staff who worked tirelessly to support our communities and making sure that for those who are able to get into a shelter, or for those who are not able to provide resources and reconnecting with them and making sure that they know that they're not forgotten and they're not neglected, that we are here for them, that our goal is to provide housing or at least a shelter available for people who are willing to go into housing. I talked about this quite a bit in some of my other council meetings. There was a time where I lived in a shelter, and I lived in I was in a domestic violence situation. I lived in a shelter with my child, and it wasn't an ideal place for me, but at the same time, it was the safest place for us. And there's a number of other individuals who are in that situation where they might be in a shelter, because it's safer there than it is for them at their, what would have been their regular home. But then there's also people who've lived in shelters before who unfortunately had some experiences that happened that they're no longer willing to be in a shelter. And same as there's individuals who ended up becoming homeless, again, not any fault of their own, and how many of them were victimized further by being, unsheltered. And the idea of going into a covered space, it's more traumatic for them than it is being out in the open. So at the same time, we also recognize there's a lot of, we're seeing a large number of people who are unsheltered, and we have to make sure that we are providing the best service possible to them and ensuring that they do have some safe place to call home. And one other thing I wanted to highlight too, a few weeks ago, I had asked or mentioned to staff about the elderly gentleman that I was seeing, I haven't seen for a while at Conderoy. And I actually heard back from one local owner nearby who owns a weed shop that's like a few steps away from there. I think it's a big, huge thing called weed. And the owner told me that the older gentleman is actually sometimes stays behind their building, but also sometimes is over by Dutch Brothers, especially when Dutch Brothers is closed. So it's good to know that he is still around. And I'm glad to also hear that staff is aware that he is there and that they are following up with him accordingly. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. I would also just like to add some comments, my thoughts, and also just in response to some of the things that were mentioned during public comment. We are doing a lot of great things here in Salem regarding homelessness. No, we're not done yet. We have a long ways to go. But if you look back to 5 or 6 years ago, the amount of resources that we have provided is remarkable. And I would encourage folks to not always look to the city to the north for a way to do things. It's not always, bigger isn't always better. And I would suggest that perhaps some of the things that we're doing here are much more effective than they are in other places. Also, I know back east, there's a big movement right now about forcibly removing people with mental illness into certain situations. And while that might seem like a quick fix, homeless people have civil liberties just like you and I do. We all have them. And it's just one thing that it's not just for some of us and not just for people without mental illness. So we need to remember that. And there's a balance in there somewhere when people aren't able to take care of themselves, but we do have really critical laws that we have to follow. And we might interpret those laws differently than maybe some other cities do, but that doesn't mean that they're right and we're wrong. That just means that we have different interpretations and view these things slightly differently. But anyway, I'm very proud of the work that we've been doing on homelessness. Again, we have a long ways to go, but I think we're on a really good track, and I'm very thankful for all the members of this council who have supported that work. So thanks, everybody. Are there further comments? The recorder will please call the roll.
Councillor Hoy?
Aye.
Councillor Nordyke?
Aye.
Councillor Varney?
Aye.
Councillor Stapleton?
Aye.
Councillor Nishioka?
Aye.
Councillor Phillips?
Aye.
Councillor Leung?
Aye.
Councillor Gonzalez, absent. Mayor Hoy?
Aye. Motion passes. All right, on to information reports. And again, having not heard feedback to the contrary, we'll just go in order. Item 6A, as a reminder, had been removed. So we'll start with item 6B. Are there any questions or comments on item 6B? Seeing none, we'll go to 6C. All right, on to first readings then. To the city recorder for item 7.1A.
Ordinance Bill number 25-22, an ordinance declaring certain territory located at 3821 Ibex Street Northeast, annexed to the city of Salem, prescribing zoning and withdrawing the territory from the Marion County Fire District Number 1 and East Salem Sewer and Drainage District.
Councilor Stapleton, do you have a motion?
Yes. I move that we advance ordinance bill number 25-22, approving the annexation, applying city zoning, and withdrawing the territory from the Marion County Fire District Number 1 and East Salem Sewer and Drainage District for property located at 3821 Ibex Street Northeast to second reading for enactment.
Second.
Second by Councilor Phillips. Any discussion? If the recorder will please call the roll.
Councilor Nordike,
Aye.
Councilor Varney,
Aye.
Councilor Stapleton,
Aye.
Councilor Nishioka,
Aye.
Councilor Phillips,
Aye.
Councilor Leung,
Aye.
Councilor Gonzalez, absent. Councilor Hoy,
Aye.
Mayor Hoy.
Aye. Motion passes. Item 7.1B.
Ordinance Bill number 26-22, an ordinance declaring certain territory located at 3880 Mahrt Avenue Southeast and land adjacent, annexed to the city of Salem, prescribing Salem Area Comprehensive Plan Map designation, prescribing zoning, and withdrawing the territory from the Marion County Fire District Number 1, Suburban East Salem Water District, and East Salem Sewer and Drainage District.
Councilor Nishioka, do you have a motion?
Yes, Mayor Hoy, I do. I move we advance ordinance bill number 26-22, approving the annexation and approving the comprehensive plan designation and zoning request, and withdrawing the territory from Marion County Fire District Number 1, Suburban East Salem Water District, and East Salem Sewer and Drainage District to the second reading.
Second.
Seconded by Councilor Phillips. Any discussion? The recorder will please call the roll.
Councilor Varney,
Aye.
Councilor Stapleton,
Aye.
Councilor Nishioka,
Aye.
Councilor Phillips,
Aye.
Councilor Leung,
Aye.
Councilor Gonzalez, absent. Councilor Hoy,
Aye.
Councilor Nordike,
Aye.
Mayor Hoy.
Aye. Motion passes. On to second readings, item 7.2A.
Ordinance Bill number 24-22, an ordinance declaring certain territory located at 5536 Skyline Road South, annexed to the city of Salem, prescribing Salem Area Comprehensive Plan Map designation, prescribing zoning, and withdrawing the territory from the Salem Suburban Rural Fire Protection District. Councilor Stapleton,
Aye.
Councilor Nishioka,
Aye.
Councilor Phillips,
Aye.
Councilor Leung,
Aye.
Councilor Gonzalez, absent. Councilor Hoy,
Aye.
Councilor Nordike,
Aye.
Councilor Varney,
Aye.
Mayor Hoy.
Aye. Motion passes. And we have nobody signed up for public comment under item 8. So therefore, we are adjourned. Thanks, everybody.
For more videos and for more information, go to capitalcommunitymedia.org and follow us on social media.